At this point in the design process, you may have a prototype that you believe works. The next step in the engineering design process is to test and evaluate your solution. The main goal of testing is to evaluate the solution against established design criteria, the design criteria that you established at the beginning of the process.
There are 4 main questions to answer when setting up tests. They are: what design criteria is being measured? How is the measurement made? How many times should it be done? And who is involved in testing? For some teams, answering questions 2 and 4 are pretty involved, so details about both will be provided in separate videos. The first question to ask is, what design criteria is being measured? You'll need to go back to your initial list of design criteria. As you may recall, you captured objectives and constraints as design criteria. You also may have defined functions as well. Now, these design criteria and functions should be captured with a target numerical value. So for example, with the water bottle, it may need to hold less than or equal to 1 liter or be durable for greater than or equal to 5 years. Teams should develop a test for every design criteria or function.
The second question your team needs to answer is, how can you make these measurements? To answer this question, you may need to think about additional factors such as what tool or device is needed to make the measurement and what process will you follow. There are many different types of measurements that can be made. It can be helpful to distinguish these measurements as direct or surrogate, standard or constructed. This will be a topic of a separate video. In step 2, you need to select a tool or a method to measure your design criterion. For example, you could select a ruler or a user-defined scale, or you could make a cost estimate. Some example tests might be a drop test or a durability test. This is the step where you select your evaluation method.
The third step to setting up a test is to answer the question, how many times should the test be done? The number of times a test should be done can depend on a number of factors, including things such as the uncertainty in the measurement or involving users with opinions or feelings. One strategy for calculating the number of tests is called design of experiments. So doing a calculation with design of experiments allows you to estimate the number of tests you will need in order to get a statistically significant result. However, students are often constrained by kind of practical factors such as accessibility to users, time, and cost. Speaking of uncertainty, students often confuse the terms of precision and accuracy. Precision is a measure of how reproducible a test is, and accuracy is how close a test is to a known value. For design teams conducting standard direct measurements, few tests are often needed. For example, if you're measuring the length or the width of a device, you may only need to do that once or twice. In comparison, for constructed or surrogate tests, you may need to do many repeated tests. A good rule of thumb is to do it 20 to 30 times. However, constraints such as time, access, and cost may limit your ability to do these repeat tests.
The fourth question that must be answered is who is involved in the testing. Generally, one or more members of the team is involved in administering tests. When testing requires input from other people, Institutional Review Board approval may be required. These other people might be your team's client, potential users of your device, or other people such as friends of the design team. Because working with other people in evaluating your product involves many decisions, it's the topic of a separate video entitled Involving Users in Testing. In summary, this video has stepped through 4 questions that your team must answer in order to be able to evaluate and test your prototype against its design objectives and functions.